people of Karabakh to their homeland. I believe that's the strong point of Karabakh region, because to make peace, it is also it's all about understanding each other, not only their neighbors but also from international tourists. For me, from Thailand coming to Azerbaijan, I would say that it is also a rare destination for my people, and I hope that in the near future Azerbaijan will become a big tourist destination for Southeast Asian travelers to come. And everyone knows that tourism is not always about a fun holiday, but also about learning, and it is also for educational purposes. So to come to Karabakh, to meet the people of Karabakh, that is the way how we can understand each other and make the region prosperous and make peace. And I hope that in the near future I'll get to return to Sucha, I will get to return to Akdam, to Kalbajar in the new form of Karabakh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petch. So Petch talked about tourism and the tourist potential of Karabakh, which we all believe is very big. Any questions for Petch?
She asked about your feelings. Did you had when you saw those ruins and so on?
Petch?
Definitely that it is sad to see the situation that turns out, but I'm also glad to see the recovery and the reconstruction of whether it is the railway near Zangilan or the new airport in Fusuli. So as an international tourist, we are glad to see this improvement, and we hope that that will be the new phrase of Karabakh in the near future.
Okay. Would anyone else like to answer this question? Maybe?
Dağıntılar biz həqiqətən də adama pis təsir edir. Amma mən də sevindim ki, orada müəyyən işləri artıq gedir. Biz orada ayrı gedir. Mən ümid edirəm ki, bu artıq ikinci mərhələdə süper olacaq. Çünki mən beynəlxalq bir səyyah kimi eyni zamanda turistlər üçün gözəl şərait olacaq. Növbəti ki, gəlsinlər, görsünlər və insanlar üçün də film olacaq.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd now like to introduce an Italian traveler who's sitting next to me, Nicola Corratella. He's from Bari in Italy, but has been living in Barcelona, in Spain, for very many years. Nicola is the vice president of the Mediterranean Traveler Century Club. So Traveler Century Club is the oldest travel club. It's been around for more than 60 years, and it originally was based in the United States, but it has opened chapters, regional, if you want, chapters, and one of them is the Mediterranean one. So Nicola is highly involved with that, and he will give us a bit of his impression on our visit. Nicola.
Thank you very much, Harry. Thanks everybody for being here and listening to us. Yeah, I mean, in a few words, we've heard already my fellow co-travelers, their impression are, I share pretty much their impressions, in the sense that, you know, it's the first striking things really when you get to, especially the Kalbajar region, is the beauty of nature, for instance. It's astonishing. In many aspects, it reminds me of some of the Alps sceneries that I have in my own country, you know? And it's really beautiful. At the same time, this is not in sync with the level of destruction that we see, no? The state of that land, which is really like it hurts your sight. Along with the state of devastation, destruction, though, you see also reconstruction, and that's probably what we should focus on. Forget about, forget as much as possible about what happened, and focus more on the future. And that's the feelings, honestly, I had. It's beautiful to look at this land and thinking how it will be as construction, reconstruction goes on. Now, one of the things that I really paid a lot of attention to, because it's close to my professional fields, but also I find it very inspiring is the experiment of the smart village. We had the opportunity to visit, although very quickly, one of them. And it's very interesting, to see how fast that's been developed, and it has a very important potential. It has a strong potential, and it's very important. That's what I mean, because one of the challenges that, as an external person, I can think of, is the challenge of bringing back people to the region. Not only bringing them back for a limited period, but bringing them back to stay. And in order to do that, you need to really explore a number of avenues which are different from, and it's a luxury that you have here in that region, because it has to be built by scratch. So it's going to be new, it can be built properly. The real challenge is indeed to manage it properly, and that's where the government and the people of Azerbaijan have a responsibility in making that happen. That, along with the building of the new corridor, we saw the railway and a few other key infrastructure points, the airport, etc. I'm sure will give a bright future to the region that now deserve that after many years of suffering. So that's what I wanted to say. That's from me, my feedback.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Any questions for Mr. Koratella, please? Okay, if not, next to me on the other side is Georgia, and he's from a country that no longer exists. So maybe that will resonate a bit. So he was born in what was then Yugoslavia, and as you may know, Yugoslavia had a civil war, much like what happened in Azerbaijan. Georgia works as a lawyer, and so he will talk to us a little bit about the legal perspective and how he sees that in terms of Karabakh. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for your interpretation. Dear guests, what have I saw in Nagorno-Karabakh reminded me very much on situations in former Yugoslavia, especially in the war-affected regions. And the biggest impression which I got is that the region is very, very beautiful, but there are almost no people living in the liberated areas. So my main opinion about the development is how government will direct the municipality developments, because we saw some municipalities in plain regions, some in the mountain regions, and I would suggest that government liberalize new settlements and also resettlements of the people who are interested, who are born in that region or who are interested to settle in that region, which would be very interesting, because especially the valley of the Arax River has extreme potential because of future connection with Europe and Turkey. I would also mention that I saw a great potential for agricultural production, especially the honey production in some areas, and the region is also very rich with natural slopes for potential ski resorts. That would be for me.
Thank you, Georgia. Any question for Georgia, please? So Georgia talked a bit about the municipalities and how they may be able to develop, and how agriculture may become an important economic driver of that region. And last but certainly not least, I've deliberately left Ildiko last, because one of the problems with the travel clubs is that we don't really have enough ladies. So it is unfortunately dominated by men. And maybe we can learn from ladies, because perhaps when relations between neighbors aren't that good, if the ladies started talking to each other, maybe they'd become better, right? So Ildiko is from Hungary, And she has also visited every country in the world. So that is really, that makes her one of the few women to have achieved that. So Ildi will talk to us about her impressions in Karabakh.
Thank you very much, Harry. Thank you very much for the invitation, Maharaj. It's really honored to be a part of all these high achiever travelers we have here, because we just few of us seated here, but many of us right there listening to us, and it's a real honor to be here. Well, during my travels, I try to approach it actually from a personal perspective as a solo female traveler. So I visited most of the countries on my own, and I'm especially interested in unique, isolated places, disputed areas, war-torn places. And I'm very delighted as part to be here in this group, because as of now, independent travelers, sadly, not available for us. But thank you very much for the great organization, Maharaj. And this is my second time in Azerbaijan, and first time I visited Baku and Kobustan and also the mud volcanoes mainly. This time we had a trip together to Nakhchivan and also Karabakh region. What I see is basically the infrastructure is already, it's mind-blowing. I'm just also comparing it to Hungary, that for example for us, even just to renovate the metro system, it takes ages. And here, what's shocking for me is already that you have an airport built in less than 8-9 months, and you have a railway which in the near future is going to link together Turkey and Azerbaijan, and also the smart village, clearly, and the spectacular landscape. I had this boldest idea when we were going through the region and seeing these snow-covered mountains. I wish we would have a spa here and just overlooking this view. I'm coming from a land of spa, Hungary, so I wish one day it would open, that spa. And along with the ski resort, it would be amazing to return as a female traveler and explore more of this region. Thank you very much for the organization and for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ildi. Would anyone like to ask Ildi a question? So Ildi focused on the tourist potential of Karabakh. So we got a few different perspectives from the speakers. Well, I'd like to add, I'm Harry Mitsidis. I'm the founder of Nomad Mania. I live in the UK. And coming to Azerbaijan is always great because I find that it's much freer than the UK. You might find that strange, but I find that in the UK there's way too many rules about everything. And here I think people feel freer. When I go out, I see people in cafes talking, having fun. I don't know. To me, this seems like an open society. This is what I missed in Karabakh because there's no people. My feelings there is sadness because I see this emptiness. I see this unbelievably beautiful part of the world, and there's no one there. The only people there are military, and I think for all of us, sometimes military, on the one hand, represent protection, but at the same time, they make us all maybe a little bit uncomfortable. We would maybe like a world where there's not that much military. So my hope is that when I come next time, well, maybe not next time, because I hope I come in a few months again, but when I come, say, in 10 years, and I still won't have any hair, so, that won't change. So then maybe we can see the hotel that Ildi is talking about, or the, many smart cities that were discussed by some of my colleagues here. Maybe we can see a region which is flourishing with a lot of agriculture, tourism and economic growth, thanks to its strategic location, and hopefully with a corridor opening, then it will be possible to have, a vast link between Baku and Europe through Karabakh. So let's hope that this will happen, and let's hope that all of you, I think some of you, or for some of you it may be very difficult to go there because right now it's essentially a closed region. I hope it becomes an area for Azerbaijanis to explore and get to know their country more. Before I open the floor for questions, I agreed with Mehraj and our organizer Farid, that I would end this with a little lighter note. So all of us have come from Karabakh with mixed feelings. Some of the things we saw were shocking. Maybe we were a little bit sad. At the same time, we're hopeful, but mixed feelings. So I want to end on a positive note. So I'll give a very quick presentation on the steps to becoming a big global traveler. So listen up, and I hope you agree. There's essentially two phases, before and during. And each phase has 6 steps, according to me. Some people think I am the biggest traveler in the world, but they're completely wrong. They don't know what they're saying. But I'm big enough, so maybe what I say has a little bit of basis. So the first thing you need to do before going on a big journey is to look inside you. Not at the world, but at you. You need to see your strengths and weaknesses. You need to see what you believe you're capable of and what you think you're weak at. And focus on the strengths. So are you a tolerant person? Are you a patient person? Are you an adaptable person? These are qualities that will help you be a global traveler. But if you're not, then, well, it's not the end of the world, but it's good to know your limitations. So that's step 1. Step 2, well, if at school you were a bad student in history or geography, this is your chance to brush it up. So you need to know a little bit about geography. It would be good if you knew the difference between Togo and Tonga, for example. It would be good if you knew where Brunei is. But maybe that's already a bit advanced, but at least you should know the capital of Algeria, okay? If you don't know that, go back and read up on it. It's good to know basic history of, the last centuries, some of the wars that happened. All this may be helpful in understanding the places you will visit. Step 3, very important step. You cannot be a global traveler if you don't know your home country. Okay, so I think many people travel a lot and they haven't been anywhere in their own country. So ask yourselves, have I been to Ganja? Have I been to Lankaran? Have I been to Gebele? Have I been to Kuba? And of course, have I been to Karabakh? So only when you can answer those questions with a yes, can you then spread your wings and fly off and become a global traveler. And in a moment, I'll explain why. Step 4, another very important step. You need to open your mind. You cannot be a global traveler if you don't have tolerance for different people. You need to try to understand other people's way of thinking, other people's perspectives, different ways of life. So if you are critical of everyone else, well, stop and think, okay, this is maybe not the right way. I need to be more accepting, because only then will I enjoy being a global traveler. Step 5, I will tell you what your teachers never told you. Do not read. Why? If you read, then you already know what to expect. That's boring. You go somewhere and you already have the images in your head. So my advice is read a little bit so that you don't get too lost, and then you don't do some big cultural no-nos. But don't read too much, because the fun of exploring and being a global traveler is to be surprised. And you cannot be surprised if you're spending all your time getting information. And the last step before you go is to learn some tricks that will help you. You do need to know how to get cheaper flights. You do need to know how to try to get cheap accommodation. Maybe you want to sign up on platforms like Couchsurfing, or at least know what Airbnb is, because obviously no one is a millionaire. Well, some people are, but most of the normal travelers are not millionaires, and they need to do what they do on a budget. So you need to learn a few of the tricks of the trade before you go off. So that was 6 steps before. And the next 6 steps are during your travels. So, one useful thing, try to learn a bit of the local language where you're going. Even 100 words may be useful. Because if I tell you, çok memnun oldum, you will be happy that you heard something familiar to you, okay? And you will always get a much better reception from people if you're talking in their own language. Step 8, once you're out there, you need to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. So I think when we are part of a country, we all learn how to function within our country. We know what is right and wrong in our place. But when you're out there, you need to push yourself. Do things that you never believed you would do. Challenge yourself to do them. That is an important step to becoming a bigger person. Step 9, you need to rely on others. You need to trust people. If your worldview is, I'm suspicious of others, no one will help me, or people are bad, then you won't get to a good start. So you need to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and while you are traveling, you do need the help of locals, of strangers. What I have learned when I'm traveling, people are good. In most cases, people will help you. And the one person who will rob you is the exception. And maybe he really needed the money, so, you know, maybe we can forgive him. And step 10, make alliances. Meet people where you go, and meet people of all different backgrounds. Meet people 30 years older than you. Meet people 30 years younger than you. Well, if you're 20, maybe that's impossible, but, you know, you can try. Meet a variety of people. Meet some people who think like you, and some who have nothing in common with you. That is how you will understand a country well. So don't go just to the capital, because most people in the capital, you know, they're tired, they're stressed. Maybe you can understand this, you know, living in Baku, a quick city. But, you know, go to the village as well. See how they live there. Talk to the people. That is already making you a global traveler. Step 11, which is perhaps the most important one. When you travel, you are representing your country. So if you are mean, if you are being you know, sending negative vibes, then people won't like your country. They'll say, oh, that person came and he treated me badly and I don't like their country. And okay, maybe I'm from England and people meet many English people, but when you're from Azerbaijan and you're abroad, you might be the only person from Azerbaijan someone has ever met, which means their whole opinion of Azerbaijan will be based on you. And that means you need to be the best ambassador. Even if you're tired, you need to smile. You know, that is the way people will want to know more about your country. The final step, once you've done all that, is going back to where you started. You look back into you. You look again at who you are and see again, have your strengths and your weaknesses changed at all? Or are you still the same person? If you're still the same person, you've done something wrong and you need to start from step 1 again. But if you find that something has changed, then you've done it right and you're on your way to be a global traveler. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions on anything, please, this is the time. And once again, thank you so much, Miraj, for inviting all of us here. Let's do this again, yeah?
Okay, thank you. I'm very happy you came. I got it.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, we have a question. Saint Senov, buradan Bora Media. And we would like to know, you founded Nomad Mania, yeah, biggest travelers group. And we would like to know, how did you do it?
How? Why? Well, why or how? Or both?
First, why?
Why? Well, to be very honest, when I did it, I didn't know what I was doing. No, I just thought that when I finished every country, so I visited every country in the world, I knew no one else who had done it. And I remember I reached my last country, Equatorial Guinea, and I think everyone who's done it, like Ildi, like Sal, they know the feeling. It's like, wow, I've done it. But I had no one to express that to. I remember sending an email to some of my friends, and they were like, yeah, okay, you did it. You know, they didn't understand what it meant. So I thought, let me found something which will create a community where people like me will find a home. And I never knew that there were so many people like me. So over the last 10 years since we started this, I have met everyone in this room who traveled with me and so many other people. So I would say that's why I did it. For me, it's a great joy to have connected people of so many different backgrounds. And if you look at our group today, I think we're 20 different nationalities. That includes Thailand, Kuwait, Algeria, countries that you don't necessarily see every day. And of course, Azerbaijan as well. So that is the why. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more person has question, right?
Yes, question for Mr. Matsinas. If you say that you're coming back to Azerbaijan in 10 years, does that mean that you're going to celebrate your 60th birthday here? and if so, are we invited to your party?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, you need to ask Mehraj more than anyone else. But yeah. Well, maybe every birthday should be here, especially if Aygün comes,
Yes, for Bruce.
Come on. We have, I must say, we have a very exceptional panel of people here. So do take advantage while we're here and ask any question you have. We will answer. So.
Yes, tell us please, are you interested in our cuisine?
Cuisine. I will get Nicola to answer that because he's our wine and food guy. So.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, we did have a chance to taste cuisine more in Baku though than in during our trip, because the trip was on a very, very fast pace. We really had to literally eat in the car sandwiches and rely on dinner for some of the of the local specialties. But in Baku, the first night we had the chance to have a very nice dinner. So I wouldn't remember all the names of the different dishes we had, but I can tell you they will stay in my mind for a long time.
Yeah, I will add that because Azerbaijan is at the crossroads between Turkey and Iran, I think there's a bit of a fusion, and that is a really good mix. So, you're better than both. Yeah.
Kabajar honey is world famous. Have you had a chance to taste this
Can you speak louder?
Yeah, or, it's or in...
Kabajar balı dünyaca meşhur. Dünyada onun tadma şansları olur mu?
Olmadı.
Olmadı.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to try Karbajar honey? But you did not have.
We'll come back.
No, we didn't really go to the town of Kalbajar, unfortunately,
Yes, it was not in the town, just outside in the villages, but we did not have a chance.
Yeah. Next time.
Can you say top 3 places in the world where each of us must go in our life?
Well, that's a very good question, and you have a lot of people to give you a lot of impressions. So what 3 places must you go to in your life? Petch. Based on what you've seen, yeah?
Based on what I've seen, I think Peru is one of them that I was really impressed with their nature, the Amazon jungle and the wildlife, and it's very well preserved. Number 2 would be, may I say, Thailand. Not to be biased, but I think
number 3.
I think we have a really strong culture, and also the cuisine that you just mentioned. I think Thai cuisine is one of those unique, and it is something that everyone should try. And number 3, I would give it to, I would say Afghanistan, to put the war and the conflict aside. I think Afghanistan is also one of those interesting countries in terms of their traditions, their culture, their diversity in the country. So when the conflict has been resolved, I believe that is also another exciting destination to visit.
Thank you, Petch. Georgia?
Well, I would choose probably the Washington, Moscow, and Beijing to see 3 capitals of 3 most powerful countries in the world, and to see where the most important decisions are brought, which influence all our lives.
Thank you. Miraj?
I think I don't. I'm okay.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Nicola.
Well, I guess it really depends on the angle you want to give to this question. No, it could be in any particular moment a different country. So I'll choose one angle, which is the wine world, and I am an enthusiast, as Harry mentioned. So from a wine point of view, the countries you need to visit are definitely in the old world. My own country, Italy. I think we produce some of the best, if not the best, wine in the world. From a new world point of view, definitely Argentina is a fantastic country for wine and for food. And from developing countries, meaning countries that have a tradition but now are only discovering, all the possibilities and the potential, I would say Romania probably. Romania is great. I want to add a fourth.
We'll allow you, yeah.
And I would like to add a fourth, but I haven't had the chance yet to try a vast range of Azerbaijani wines. So I hope that tonight that will close my gap, and that, I can add it as a fourth country.
He's asking you to make him drunk, so. Okay, thank you. Sal?
So I really like countries that are a bit misunderstood, and I also like ones that have an interesting development trajectory, because then it's fun to continue to return to them over and over as they change and you change. So my first favorite is the UAE. I think it's people think it's only big cities of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but really our mountains, our coast, our desert is really beautiful. Our people are the most hospitable in the world. My second is Tanzania. It's the only country in sub-Saharan Africa that's never had ethnic violence, and it's they went through a project of African socialism, and they created something called Tuko Pamoja, which means we are together. And you really see that when you're with the people. They really support one another and support their visitors as well. And then third, I would have to say Algeria, also because I think it's funny that a lot of people are very obsessed with the northern Mediterranean, going to very expensive, crowded places in France, Spain, Italy, but you have much more beautiful coasts, much better food in my opinion, as well as you'll get the beaches completely to yourself. So call Wasim if you would like to go to Algeria. He would love to host you, inshallah.
Thank you. And finally, again, last but not least, Ildiko.
Well, it's always difficult to answer these questions when they ask you, what's your favorite place, country? Because I feel all of them like my babies. Wherever I go, I feel like, yes, you cannot just pick one. Well, I'm a huge fan of Africa. So if I say places like Eritrea, Ethiopia inspires me a lot, of Sudan, where people really look at you, especially as a female traveler, they look at you actually in the street with astonishment that, wow, it's a woman alone walking around in Khartoum. So yes, I would probably choose Africa, but Argentina definitely, because I'm a steak and wine person. So yes, I'm joining actually Nicola with the wine tour of Azerbaijan. And Iceland, if I have to choose something from Europe as well, just purely because of the landscapes. So the landscape itself is just...
Great, thank you. Well, I don't want to repeat what my colleague said, because I agree with quite a few of their observations. I'm going to say you have to go to North Korea, because it is the only country which is like not being on this planet. It is really an experience, not necessarily the most pleasant one, but it is really unbelievably interesting, and it's like being in another dimension. I will put as my second one Serbia. I cannot quite explain why. I think Serbia is one of those misunderstood countries, and maybe a bit like Ildiko and Sal, I go for the more unusual. I think Serbia has many differences between North and South, and really great food. As a third one, that's a tough one, but I will say Colombia. A combination of the landscapes and the women. I rest my case. Thank you. Any other question?
Sualınız yoxdursa, çox sağ olun gəldiyinizə görə, minnətdarıq. Bütün 3 gündür biz yollardayıq, yəqin siz bilirsiniz. Çox sual gəldiyinizə görə biz istəyirik bunu bitirək. Əgər sualınız yoxsa. Okay.
Thank you all.
Any commission, I think we finish it. Okay.
Thank you.
I loved your tips. Yeah, it's really great. Yeah.
They should be published.
You told me that I will be interested. Yes.
Thank you.
It is
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for your question. That was a really good
Excellent.
one.
Excellent.
Maybe you...
Okay.